The MEG 2 is here, and the creature that seems to get plastered all over the internet, the Megalodon, has had its second feature in 5 years. Was it needed? Maybe not. Is it good? Well, that's something that we're going to be delving into. With Statham being the hero and taking on several 50-feet mega sharks, this movie had quite literally everything at stake. Like Godzilla vs. Kong, the MEG vs. the Kraken was a battle that I didn't even know I needed. And it just added an extra layer on top that made me chuckle to myself when watching it. So let's explain the ending, I'll give my review and also explain some theories around the sequel. Here is a review of the MEG 2. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. Also, if you enjoy the video, then feel free to hit subscribe. Thanks. Was the movie good? I'm torn on this just purely because of the experience. At its core, no, it's not great at all. There are so many plot holes that are just poorly brushed over, almost as if they just didn't exist. But the thing with this movie is I just went into it expecting to have some fun. And I think that's probably the best way to be with movies like this, as it was just a load of fun. I was a little bit more optimistic just because I saw that Ben Wheatley was at the wheel. And I like quite a few of the movies that he's directed, such as Kill List and also Sightseers. But this was nothing like that. I thought he'd be able to inject what makes his horror movies so good into this one, but unfortunately, this one just didn't have it. The main villain and henchman in the show, Monte, just felt pretty indestructible, and he'd almost just spawn in places like nothing had ever happened. No word of a lie, he was 25,000 feet below sea level, and to get back up to the surface, he just inflated this boily thing and floated all the way up to the top. Something which just didn't make sense to me. Plus, he would just arrive at places way quicker than the people in the helicopters would, which was just not coherent with how travel was working in the world that was created. As villains go, he was pretty lame. He got dominated by Jason Statham's Jonas every single time they fought, and he didn't serve his purpose as a main villain well, ultimately resulting in him getting eaten by one of the MEGs at the end. With him wanting to mine for the material that was worth billions of dollars, it seemed strange that he was trying to kill Jonas when he was trying to kill the Megalodons. Because realistically, Jonas killing the Megalodons actually helped him. So if he was smart, he would have let Jonas do that and then taken him out. But I guess some villains aren't as intelligent as they need to be. I thought all of the main cast served their purpose well. It's not a movie where you're going to get incredible lines of dialogue or emotions that are extremely convincing. But it served its purpose in being a script that progressed the story forward and had cheesy lines in it every so often. Almost adopting that Arnie type role. In fact, if this film was made in the 80s, Arnie would be all over it. This is a movie where the civilians actually frustrated you when watching it, because all common sense went out the window. When the Kraken was destroying the platform that they were on, none of them were running away. They were just hiding in reach of it and hoping not to get grabbed, something which just didn't make any sense. Also, Jing was a character that would just disregard all logic. She swam into open MEG-infested waters to save one person, and also a dog. Somehow she survived, but it was definitely not needed. Plus, the creatures on the land were a bit irrelevant and pointless, and by the end, the weight of them was forgotten. It was made out like they were all destroyed and the world was saved. But let's remember, there is a hole in the depths that acts as a wall, the thermocline. So there could well be a flurry of whatever those creatures were, the Kraken, and also more MEGs on the way. The twist of Jess being behind the sabotaging was something that was pretty obvious due to the way that she was acting. I also loved the fact that when she turned into the villain and revealed herself, she lost her glasses, and it was almost like a disguise. One positive, and probably the only positive about this movie, is the fact that visually it was so much nicer on the eye than the first movie. Seeing that it grossed around 500 million definitely gave them confidence to put more behind it, and to invest in making it look better. Because not at any point was I really disappointed with the CGI or the cinematography, so that was one positive. The ending with Zhu Ming and the original MEG where she obeyed him was very confusing. He was pleased that it obeyed him, and it didn't eat him, but during the beginning it was going to absolutely devour him. So I'm surprised that being out in the open water was something that actually made the MEG more obedient. It didn't really make sense to me, but hey. Overall, I would say that this movie was definitely not the best, but I have seen a lot worse. It's a fun ride that if you leave all logic at the door before you sit down, then you'll enjoy it for what it is. It's hard to forget about the plot holes as they're so goddamn deep, but it's something that I think just makes it even more humorous when you can eventually look past it. I went to see this movie because I wanted to see how bad it was, and it wasn't as bad as what I thought, but maybe that's because I went in with a negative mindset. I had my popcorn, I had my drink, and I had my MEG. It gets 2.5 on Letterboxd for me, nothing less and nothing more. Ending explained. So you might be wondering, how did all of this actually even happen? Well, it happened because the explosion ripped a hole in the thermocline, which essentially acted as a barrier between the depths where the creatures lied and everything that we know of above, so they were able to enter. Driscolley was behind the mining that was happening deep beneath the surface as she wanted to sell the material for billions of dollars, but she wanted to do it with Ximing's technology and designs to make it possible. She didn't care for the environment like Jonas and the others did, and she wanted to use the technology for her own personal gain, which was somewhat successful until the operation got uncovered. With the creatures making it to the land and also the sea level that we're familiar with, all of the villains got absolutely obliterated. Driscolley got dragged off by the land creatures, Monte got eaten by a Megalodon, and Jess the traitor got eaten by a Megalodon too. All but one of the creatures got destroyed. Jonas killed 2 Megs, but the original one survived that was in captivity, and it was hinted that she could well have been pregnant, and the Kraken and the land creatures ended up being killed too. With Jonas and the gang surviving, I feel we're definitely going to be seeing them return. So will there be another movie? Well, it very much feels like there's going to be another one. With the movie already making well over $100 million after only a few days in the box office, it feels like it's going to be a box office success. It's even more impressive considering it's managing to hold its own whilst alongside Barbie and Oppenheimer, 2 movies that have hindered the success of many other movies this summer, so that means that a third one could well be on the cards. There are a couple of different directions that this movie could go in. We obviously had the Kraken making a feature and showing that it can hold its own against a Megalodon when the time is needed, but it did fall short. We only saw one, but there could well be more that are buried deep beneath the surface. So we could see more Krakens come out and take the lead in the next movie as the creature of choice. Or a slightly different direction that it could end up going in is right at the end it was heavily implied that Heike could have been pregnant, which means that the Megalodon species could grow due to her potentially giving birth to some, with the 2 other Megalodons that we saw being billed as some of the biggest that had ever been seen. She could end up giving birth to some true monstrous sized species. But I guess that's something that we're just going to have to see as time goes on. Personally, I think they're the 2 main directions that the movie could go in if they decided to make a sequel. I did enjoy my experience when I went to watch this movie. Like I said, it's nowhere near the best thing that I'll ever watch in the entirety of my life. Even in that specific genre, it's probably going to be down at the bottom. But it serves its purpose well and provides a somewhat enjoyable ride, like I say, if you leave your logic at the door. Something to take away is the fact that it was actually better than the first, so that's got to count for something, right? Hey, thanks for watching to the end of the video. I've got a Letterboxd where I rate all of the latest movies and give my thoughts and opinions in real time, so feel free to follow me over there as well. Until next time, see ya.